Hey Callie, have you ever been wild camping or considered it, but been put off by the fear of being busted?
What if we told you that it's possible to wild camp and stay undetected for months at a time?
Join us as we show you how we do it.
And have done and got away with it successfully for 10 years.
Before we continue, if you're a fan of the outdoors, seasoned or unseasoned, smash that subscribe button for us, like and share around. Let's get back into it, shall we? One of the key factors that may get you busted is walking in straight lines. Tara's going to demonstrate here how not to do that and how to do that. So what Tara's doing here is she's actually zigzagging. So when you try and find a camp spot, what you'll be wanting to do is following these sorts of lines, and that will allow you to not have such a straight line. You know, a huge great line of sight straight to where you actually belong. Now, going off of this, we can't actually see where Tara's been. There is no straight line through here. And now what Tara's going to demonstrate is a straight line back. Wow, yeah. So there you go. You can see a nice straight line up through there to where Tara came from before.
As you can see, just doing it the once, it isn't creating too much a defined line. But if you imagine coming in and out of your camp over and over again, that line is going to become very defined. And a straight line is really eye-catching for anyone. You know, we know when you see a path, you think, oh, I wonder where that goes. That's what someone's thinking. So if you zigzag, when you're looking straight down, you don't see. It's not as eye-catching. You're not going to see that. It's a very good way to keep your tracks covered.
Another key identifying feature as to how people get busted is by leaving footprints.
Yep. So essentially, if you see on your zigzag path on the way in and out of your camp, if you find a flat mud patch, take advantage of that, because that's going to tell you if anyone has followed you in and out if you leave that clear. So as for an example, we've found a clear patch that we can give you an example on. We've already got a couple of footprints on this actually.
Yeah.
But essentially what I'm going to do if I'm following my track is this.
Fantabulous. As you can see there, Tara's just jumped over a really quite soft muddy patch as to not leave any tracks, right? However, what happens if you do leave tracks? Oh, look at that. So Tara's left a slight impression here, and we can tell by the footprint she is walking that way. So even with small prints like this, even out in the open or out in the forest or the woodlands, what you might want to do is even something as simple as this. Right, now you see that there? That's been disturbed. So what we want to do is just make sure it looks as natural as possible. Now you might want to do this with branches, leaves, bits of brush, just to make it look a little bit more natural. But as you can see there now, Tara's footprint is very much gone. So yeah, if you're ever in a pickle and you've got someone on your tail, or you just don't want people following you in, you know.
Or if you've just accidentally stepped on your clear mud patch, then you can just cover it up quite easily.
And it's always a good sign that you can tell if anyone's coming in and out of where you're camped up. And if it is regular foot traffic, it's always best just to scrub your own, and then you can keep an eye on who's in and out.
Yeah.
So likewise from here, you can see someone's come in that way, up to there, all the way up to there, and you can see they've also meandered around this way and gone in through that way. Another thing we like to incorporate whilst we're staying undetected is a snapping of branches. Now only little branches.
The reason for this, of course, is when you're zigzagging in and out, particularly if you're mindful and you're doing it at quite some distance, we've found that you are at risk actually of losing your camp. So a good way for you to navigate yourself through your zigzag is by doing this.
There we go. And that's all we need to do. Now what that allows us to do is see exactly what direction we've come in. And we typically put it on the left, don't we? Mm-hmm. But also, it's always wise.
Don't make it look fresh.
Yes. Now, look at that. That looks old. No one's really going to come across that. They're going to go, that's an old snap. It looks old, although we can tell, can't we, that this is still fresh. It's still bendy.
But this is enough for us to use as our signal through our zigzag. So as we're going along, if we're losing our own track, we're just looking at the trees around us for that branch, for the branch snap.
Yep. Not only that, is on a day like today, mist, fog, wind, rain, they're all your friend in situations like this.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you can see the mountains behind us here, and if we turn this way, you can see the mountains behind us here. They're all the way up there. Literally not seeing, and not many people come out in this sort of weather, do they?
So if we need to use our stick stove, it's this kind of conditions that we would use it in.
Yes.
Stick stove to cook on.
Yeah, but visibility, you can see down to those trees there, right? So the visibility, even for now, we would have to be at least 70 metres away from people.
Yeah.
You know, as not to have that clear line of sight with the smoke bellowing for the initial lighting of the fire. So on a stick stove, for instance, you want to be braking not like this. Ooh.
That one weren't that loud, that one.
Yeah, you hear that snap. Now what we tend to do in a situation like this, especially if you're close to a track, we're never going to be this close to a track, but what we tend to do is Tara and I will both put them in our tops and snap them that way. A lot quieter, much more quieter.
Another method.
The other method Tara uses, I didn't get the camera quick enough, but also putting it on the ground and snapping it back up towards yourself. It uses the ground as a dampener in this situation, and then what you've got is you've got a load of snapped bits in which you can pull apart whilst not attracting too much attention to yourselves. Awesome. Whilst we're on the subject, those of you that like to have a good drink, you all know what that sounds like. Always keep it quiet. But thank you to you guys. You guys are awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's jump back in.
Another issue that you'll have is in the winter months, of course, it's dark pretty much all the time. At least it starts to feel that way after a while. But so you are going to need to light up to see what you're doing in your camp. One no-no for us is a head torch, because it doesn't matter if you have that on red or green or any other dull colour. If you're moving that torch around on your head, it's so obvious that there's somebody camping.
Yes.
Not many people are moving around in the same spot with a head torch on. If they've got a head torch on and they're dog walking, they're moving in a straight line, at least, right?
Now, if you remember from the sides of motorways, if you've ever lived near a motorway and you watch the cars and you've got a tree line, they flash. Those lights are not flashing, but every individual tree that it goes through, it will just keep flashing. Whereas what a headlamp does is if you've seen someone or heard someone through the woods, what happens is you'll look straight over there.
You do this, boom.
Yeah. All of a sudden, you've just lit yourself up, especially if you're moving or somebody else is moving. That light is going to flicker in their eyes and they're going to look. Look towards
not to mention, even if you was mindful enough to cover your light to look in the direction of the noise, you're already blind.
Yeah, you're already top blind anyway.
And because you've had that light on for so long, you're already blind to the night. So you're not going to see what's coming.
No. So a way to battle that is we use a phone screen. Typically, we'll use a phone screen, just the screen. We put the brightness up and hold it down to the floor.
So we'll just light our screen on and then point it to the floor, just that we can see directly in front of us. And it's a very mild light, but that mild light is enough for you to make sure that you're not falling in a ditch or going to fall over a log, right?
Yeah. But it allows you just to light your feet and see where you're putting your feet when you're walking, doesn't it?
And it will get you in and out of your camp a little more safer without brightening yourself up so that everyone can see your movement. When you're in your camp, however, I would definitely advise, if you're going to have a light, keep it static. Do not have that light moving, because a moving light is the first thing that's going to attract your eye. Most people will not spot a static light, even if it's quite bright, purely because there's no movement of it. It could look like the moon through the trees, for example. or a street light.
Or even a house in the distance, or a farm in the distance, anything like that.
Yeah.
As long as it's static and not moving, you should be absolutely fine. Now, an old friend of mine, he taught me a couple of streetwisers, and he said, look, everyone saw the man running down through the street. Everyone saw him. And he said, what you need to do is stand still or move a lot slower. And I thought to myself, like, why? He said, because no one will see you. No one will see you. Everyone sees the speeding car, the speeding motorbike, the running man, the running woman, you know. But the minute you walk slow, you almost become the grey man, the invisible man.
That is such a true point, because in my early days of doing this on my own, I had seen something on YouTube of this chap. He was in this bright red jumper, and I think he was doing some test with his granddaughter or something like this, and trying to get his granddaughter to spot him in the woods. Now, bearing in mind he's got a bright red jumper on, the fact that he stayed perfectly still, she had trouble finding him. Whereas even if you've got camo print on, if you're moving through that woodland, you're going to be spotted. It's the movement that makes you seen, not the colours that you're wearing so much.
Same with the Bengal tigers, stuff
Birds,
like that.
Colourful birds.
Colourful birds, yeah. You'll hear it. You will hear the colourful birds, but you won't see them because they're still. Same as an owl. Owls in the daytime will sleep in the trees. You don't hear them, you don't see them. And we've lived outside long enough, and we've tried to find them. And we found out where the owl pellets are, you know, their excretion. And still, they blend in so well to their environment. They're so still, so silent. You know, it's a very good way. Watch nature. And that's one thing that we've always done, haven't we?
Yes.
We watch nature and try and emulate nature within our own everyday, day-to-day movements and tactics.
Yes.
So, much like snapping twigs and things like that, and noise, we've got a lot of stick for our scarves, whatever. There is one main valid reason why we use a scarf all the time, and Tara has sneezing fits sometimes when the temperature changes, and I cough and fart and sneeze just like any other vile bloke out there as well, I guess. Always muffle your sneezes, your coughs, your farts if you can, because that will give you away. You're walking through the woods and you oh, someone's over there.
Yeah.
You know, every time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And always keep your noise levels and your bodily functions as low as you possibly can.
Yeah, so we tend to work with the seasons, being nomadic. When the nights start drawing in, we get to sleep for a lot longer.
Yes, probably about 15 hours.
yeah, we get lots of lay-ins. But I guess that in a way your body needs it, because it's spending a lot of energy trying to keep warm in the day and things like that. So sleeping is good.
Sleeping is good.
In the winter.
On that note, snoring. Us guys, we like to lay on our backs sometimes and snore the bloody woodlands down. Always good to have a partner, because they go, oi, you're bloody snoring.
Yeah, when you get your early morning dog walkers and you got your man next to you snoring his head off, it's a dead giveaway.
I've got bad hips, I've got to lay on my back. But also in regards to that, the wind's blowing in our face at the moment, right? So anyone that direction, anyone your direction, isn't going to hear us coughing so much as the people behind us in that direction, the way the wind's actually blowing. So if Tara was to stand right up there, if she was to stand there, she'd be able to hear me very crisply, you know, be us outdoors. But if she was stood that way,
I wouldn't be able to hear you as well.
No. Oh yeah, that was
No,
it.
hang on, it would work that way around.
But if Tara was talking to me from up in that direction, I won't be able to hear her so well, because the wind's passing past my ears. And she's got to then compete and contend with the wind and the direction and the force of that to throw her voice essentially towards me.
It's just another thing to be mindful of, the wind direction and the noise you're making, because if the wind's blowing directly towards a track that's near you, you want to be a bit more conscious about muffling your noise.
But also, it's good for smoke direction too.
And the smells of cooking, actually.
Smells of cooking, yeah. We've been busted a couple of times by dogs coming in going, food, bacon, sausage.
Yeah, dogs are curious creatures when they can smell a sausage.
Yeah, and you've got to kind of chew them away the best you can whilst being quiet.
Make yourself big.
Yeah, big, scary, beautiful. Also, not to mention, another good way of staying undetected or staying low profile is get friendly with your local dog walkers. All dog walkers love to chat. We do sometimes, but yeah, local walkers, dog walkers, even your litter pickers, stuff like that. The more they see your face, the more you have a rapport with them. Yeah, the more you have that, the more they go. If there's an unfamiliar face around, people will go, oh no, don't worry, that's those two,
Yeah.
that's those three, or whatever, you know. We always like to stay out of sight, out of mind, but the general public, especially, you know, us lot that all go out into the woods, want to get out, going for your walks, your dog walks, taking your kids out, anything like that, it's always good to stay familiar with those that are around in your immediate environment, because it helps to build that rapport. But also, you eventually start learning who's who. You know,
Also,
you'd be like, oh, that's that dog bark, that's that dog bark.
Also, of course, if people have got to know you a little bit, let's just say they're probably going to be a little more forgiving.
Yes.
If they do come across you.
Yeah, definitely. And we've had a couple, you know, oh, you shouldn't be wild camping here. Well, we're not wild camping, we're sleeping. But, you know, we always try and stay cautious of private land and farmers' field. And you get the odd local go, well, screw the farmer, it's not even his land. Well, yeah, exactly, and that's locals. So the more you get familiar, the more you show a friendly face, so the more that you find yourself familiar with people and the locals, there's a little bit more leeway that you can actually have, isn't it?
Yeah, usually charisma.
Charisma goes a very long way. To recap, noise low, sound low.
Don't have a fire.
No, no, we don't have a fire, only because the leaves are falling now. You're gonna be spotted really quickly.
And also, if you are going to have a little stick stove fire, for example, to cook on, use your timing.
Yeah, always use your timing.
Wait for people to go home.
Yeah, as you can see, it's, you know, there are mountains all the way up, all the way across there. You can't see them. So
If
always,
someone was to have a fire over there at the moment, you wouldn't know.
no. There are mornings we've walked down here and we've looked across the mountains and we've gone, wild camper, wild camper, wild camper.
Yeah.
You can see the smoke. You can almost see their flames as well, especially when the light starts to fail. You know. And kudos to you for getting out.
Yeah.
But
If you want to stay undetected for a long time,
yes,
these are the methods we use.
definitely.
It might sound like a lot, but when you're doing it all the time, it becomes second nature.
It's like you getting up in the morning, putting on your slippers, your dressing gown or whatever and making coffee. It's the same sort of protocol for us, isn't it? And whether we're in and out of camp and stuff like that, it's the same as us. It just becomes part of your daily routine, doesn't it? So YouTube seems to think you'll like this video next, and do give it a watch.
It is related.
Yep, and please leave your comments, your support and all that jazz.
Happy hopping.